Bills fans, buckle up because the matchup we got on deck brings a whole lot more intrigue than the standings might suggest. When you look at Tampa Bay's season, that record of 6 wins and 3 losses doesn't tell the whole story. Those 6 victories came against Atlanta, Houston, New York, Seattle, San Francisco, and New Orleans. Their losses, on the other hand, came from Philadelphia, Detroit, and New England. So it's been this mix of handling business against teams they should beat while getting pushed around by the league's heavy hitters. Still, they've been steady in their division, and honestly, no one would be shocked if they ended up on top of it again by the end of the year. Their head coach has been steering this ship for 4 seasons now, building a respectable winning record with Tampa. Before that, he ran their defense, and even earlier, he held the reins as the head coach of New York. That stint didn't go nearly as well, and neither did his brief time in charge of Miami. But Tampa has been where he's finally put everything together. More than 100 games as a head coach later, and he's sitting just below the 50% mark overall. Playoff success? Not really, but consistent division titles in Tampa speak loud enough for now. And then there's the quarterback, the guy who keeps proving people wrong. Baker Mayfield, former number 1 pick, 30 years old, built like a bulldog, and playing like someone who's had to fight for every inch of his career. Cleveland was supposed to be his long-term home, but that situation went sideways fast. Carolina and Los Angeles were short layovers. Tampa Bay, though, that's where everything clicked again. Since arriving there, he's been a stabilizer, a leader, and honestly one of the coolest comeback stories in the league. When everything around him is healthy, he's a problem for defenses. He throws with swagger, toughness, and that improvisational spark that always made him fun to watch. This season, his consistency has been impressive, completing about 64% of his passes, hovering just under 250 yards per game, stacking up touchdowns with barely any interceptions, and putting together a set of efficiency metrics that place him smack in the middle of the league. But here's the thing. Tampa's offense has been built on constant turbulence. Their offensive line has been patched together. Their top receivers have missed big chunks of the season. Their primary running back has barely been available. And Baker himself has been battling an oblique issue that has clearly limited him. That mobility he thrives on, that twitchiness when the pocket collapses, that ability to extend plays, all of that has been muted. In his last 4 games, he scrambled exactly once, and even that scramble led to the hit that aggravated the injury. So you've got this really unique picture. A quarterback who at full strength hovers around top 5 or 6 territory, now grinding through pain, missing weapons, working with a first-year offensive coordinator, and trying to hold everything together. The production has dipped for Tampa the last few weeks, and you can feel the offense searching for rhythm. But help is finally coming. Chris Godwin looks like he's returning. Bucky Irving seems ready to go again. And that changes a lot heading into this showdown with Buffalo. Tampa's new offensive coordinator stepped into the role after 2 straight coaches ahead of him earned head coaching jobs elsewhere. So the system is still young, still evolving, and still figuring out what it wants to be. They lean pass heavy and sit near the middle of the league in efficiency across the board. But their red zone finishing and third down execution have held them back. Injuries have only magnified those struggles. Still, you look at their personnel, and you can see why they were expected to be a dangerous offense once things stabilized. Their rookie receiver, Aimcha Igbuka, has been one of the brightest stories of the season, already pushing his way into the conversation for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He can win anywhere on the field, breaks tackles, creates after the catch, and doesn't look the least bit overwhelmed by the league. Godwin returning is huge because when he's healthy, he's one of the cleanest route runners in football. Sterling Shepard gives them a veteran slot option who has chemistry with Baker going back to their college days. And then there's Tez Johnson, the little lightning bolt from Oregon who's been carving out a role with quickness and suddenness rather than pure speed. Tight end Cade Otton has settled in as their reliable safety valve, not flashy but sturdy. Think of that dependable tier of tight ends around the league who do everything well without being the centerpiece of the offense. Behind him, Payne Durham brings size and blocking ability when they want to shift gears. The running back situation is where things get interesting. Bucky Irving is finally back after dealing with injuries, and he brings that slippery, make-you-miss style that reminds you of those backs who win with angles and finesse rather than top-end speed. Quicker than he is fast, great hands, and surprisingly tough in tight spaces. Rachaad White has started games for them and remains a good pass-catching option, even if he isn't their long-term lead runner. Sean Tucker rounds out the group with some explosiveness that flashes occasionally. How they split carries this week is anyone's guess because Irving has barely played this year, but his return changes the game plan for Tampa. Their offensive line is a mix of high-end talent and patched-up depth. Their left tackle is elite, as good as anyone in the league. Their right tackle has taken a huge step forward and become a real anchor on the edge. Their young center is promising and growing each week. But the guards? That's where things get shaky. Injuries have forced them into backups at both spots. And while those backups have played plenty of snaps in the league, neither is someone you want to rely on consistently against a strong interior front. So what does that mean for Buffalo? It means this is a game where the Bills can dictate the tone if they're aggressive. Tampa doesn't love to run the ball, and Buffalo can't afford to let them suddenly discover a ground game. Tampa would love nothing more than to get Irving rolling and take pressure off Baker, especially while he's playing through injury. Buffalo has to shut that down early. And then there's the deep passing threat. Baker loves uncorking those shots downfield, and he's been one of the better deep passers in football this season. Even with all the shuffling around him, he'll take those chances to Ibuka or Johnson and let them run under it. Buffalo hasn't faced many deep attempts this year, but they've defended them well. That'll be tested in a big way. More than anything, though, Buffalo has to finish. Baker has thrown far more risky balls this season than his interception total shows. Defenses just haven't punished him. If the Bills get hands on the ball, they have to haul in. If they get free runs at Baker, they have to bring him down because he's slippery, crafty, and dangerous when plays stretch out. Yards after catch is a huge part of Tampa's offense, so tackling has to be on point all night. Now when we flip this matchup over to the other side of the ball, that's where things start getting really interesting for Buffalo, because this Tampa defense is talented, physical, and aggressive, but far from flawless. They've got pieces at every level, but they've also shown clear tendencies and soft spots that the Bills can absolutely attack if they stay sharp and stay patient. This defense loves to heat things up, and they're never shy about bringing pressure. They'll disguise, shift, spin safeties before the snap, and show one thing only to completely flip into something else the moment the ball is snapped. They live on confusion and timing disruption. The downside for them is that when those pressures don't get home, they leave windows all over the field. And lately, they haven't been getting home as consistently as they want to. That's where Buffalo has an opening. They've also been vulnerable in coverage whenever receivers force them into space. Their corners are physical, but they aren't the fastest group, and when they're asked to turn and run, they can be exposed on deep crossers and layered routes. The communication on the back end has also broken down at key moments throughout the year, especially when the offense puts them on the field for too many stretches. For Buffalo, motion and formation shifts will be key. If you can get this defense communicating on the fly, someone will eventually get lost, and that's where big plays can come from. The heart of Tampa's defense is their front seven, and their interior linemen can absolutely wreck a game if they're allowed to dictate the line of scrimmage. They anchor the run, they collapse pockets, and they make quarterbacks uncomfortable. But here's the catch. They're far better defending straight-ahead running than they are dealing with misdirection. If Buffalo leans on their zone concepts and gets the line moving laterally, they can pull this defense out of its comfort zone and open up cutback lanes. And if the Bills integrate the quarterback run game selectively, something they've been hesitant to lean into lately, Tampa suddenly has to account for one more moving piece, one more headache. Buffalo's receivers also present challenges Tampa has struggled with all year. This defense has had trouble dealing with route runners who know how to manipulate leverage. They'll play tight coverage, but they give up inside releases too easily, and they can be grabbed by hesitation moves. This is the type of matchup where Buffalo's pass catchers can win early in the route and give their quarterback clean throwing windows, as long as the timing is sharp. And while Tampa has size, they don't always transition well when receivers break back toward the quarterback. That's prime territory for Buffalo to work those intermediate digs, curls, and comebacks that keep drives alive. Another area Buffalo can exploit is Tampa's tendency to give up explosives after a long drive. The longer they're on the field, the more their discipline breaks down. You start seeing linebackers biting too quickly, safeties creeping too far downhill, and cornerbacks relying on anticipation rather than technique. When that happens, the play-action shots are there. The deep posts, the sideline fades, the routes that stretch the secondary thin. As long as Buffalo stays balanced and keeps Tampa guessing, those big shots will eventually present themselves. And speaking of those linebackers, that's where Buffalo should be licking their chops. Tampa's second level has been inconsistent in coverage, especially against backs and tight ends. They react late to crossing routes and get manipulated easily by discipline. If Buffalo uses its tight ends in motion, lines them up in different spots, and runs them through the middle of the field, Tampa will have trouble tracking it all. And that's before we even mention running backs releasing into space, something Tampa has routinely struggled with. If they don't account for it, those simple swing passes and angle routes turn into chunk plays. The most important thing Buffalo can do in this matchup, though, is avoid forcing themselves into predictable downs. Tampa's defense thrives when it knows what's coming. Third and long? That's exactly where they want you. They'll disguise pressure, overload a side, bring heat from impossible angles, and make the quarterback feel like the walls are closing in. But if Buffalo stays ahead of the chains, mixes tempos, and refuses to let Tampa dictate flow, the entire feel of the game shifts. Tampa becomes reactive instead of aggressive, and once they lose that edge, they can be picked apart. Buffalo should also test Tampa's tackling. This defense has missed far more tackles than they want to admit, and when receivers catch the ball in stride, things unravel quickly. If the Bills spread the field and force Tampa into open field situations, the yards after catch opportunities will start stacking up. And once those small gains start turning into big ones, Tampa gets frustrated, overcommits, and becomes even easier to manipulate with play design. Red zone execution, though, is where Buffalo must be dialed in. Tampa bends a lot, but they stiffen inside the 20. They crowd throwing lanes and force you to make precision plays. Buffalo can't settle for field goals in a game where opportunities will matter. They've got to stay creative, keep Tampa off balance, and finish drives. This matchup brings everything you'd want if you're a Bills fan looking for a chance to see the offense find rhythm again. There are mismatches to exploit, tendencies to attack, and weaknesses that have shown up repeatedly on Tampa's film. If Buffalo plays with confidence, tempo, and discipline, there's a real opportunity to control this game from start to finish. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Buffalo might be on the verge of one of the offseason's biggest surprises. Sources close to the situation have confirmed that Jordan MAILATA, the towering left tackle known for his rare blend of power and agility, was seen entering the Buffalo Bills headquarters earlier today. While no official statement has been released by either party, multiple eyewitnesses claim the Australian lineman arrived with his agent and a small entourage, sparking immediate speculation across the league. MAILATA, who has become a cornerstone on the offensive line in recent years, has long been considered a key piece of his current team's future. His unexpected appearance in Orchard Park has left fans and insiders alike scrambling for answers. Could this be the prelude to a blockbuster signing, or merely a strategic meeting to stir the market? Observers noted that MAILATA appeared relaxed, smiling as he greeted members of the Bills' front office. Some reports suggest that the team's general manager and head coach were both present at the facility during his visit, a detail that only fuels the growing belief that something significant is unfolding behind closed doors. If the Bills do manage to secure MAILATA's signature, it could signal a major shift in the AFC landscape. Buffalo's offensive line has been under scrutiny, and the addition of a proven protector like MAILATA would not only solidify their front, but also send a clear message to the rest of the conference. The Bills are serious about making a championship run. Still, there's a sense of cautious excitement. League insiders warn that negotiations of this magnitude can be complex, with agents and executives often using high-profile meetings as leverage. Yet, as photos of MAILATA entering the facility continue to circulate online, the buzz is impossible to ignore. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.